So what happens when you have a great product but your business model is broken? That is the story of Image Maximum, popularly known as IMAX cinemas. IMAX pivoted its entire business model and its strategy 6 different times. IMAX started in Montreal, Canada in the year 1967. By the year 1970, its strategy was to sell ICA 70mm system to museums and science centers. The technology was incredible, but the costs was over the roof. Now, the film prints were about 30,000 US dollars, which meant that there was high barrier to entry and low ceiling for growth. The pivot 3 happened when Hollywood adaptation was very important to IMAX. So, because we're facing a very low growth, they decided to introduce the digital media remastering in the early 2000s. All through the 1970s, 80s, IMAX was focused on making nature documentary, and then they started converting Hollywood blockbusters like Apollo 13, and they saw that they found a new high demand market for their tech. The interesting thing is, the future of business model isn't always a new product. Sometimes it's finding a new market for existing strength. Now, let's talk about the Avatar catalyst in the year 2000. Avatar was a proof point of this pivot that he had made in the early 2000s, and it really paid off. This film brought about $250 million in IMAX revenue. That was a shared profit. So, the screens generated 12% of the domestic gross on less than 3% of the screens that IMAX had. The pivot 4 was a digital transformation. Remember the 30,000 US dollars film that was used for projection? They found a way to plummet that cost from 30,000 to 4,000 US dollars. What that did basically was to help them with distribution. So the projection system was a very fantastic way of distributing more movies. Now let's talk about the pivot 5. Remember we spoke about revenue sharing. They decided that don't let us sell systems. Let's start implementing joint revenue sharing agreements with producers, box office, and whatnot. And so that sort of transformed them into like a partner, and then so they started making a lot of profits. Let's talk about pivot 6. And this is where their content integration happened. So they decided that they want to take on the format of a creative mandate. So they shifted from just the remastering to then influencing production. So more or less they became partners, right? And then they started working with directors like Christopher Nolan to shoot with IMAX cameras. So they owned the technology, but they didn't stop at technology. They decided to also move into the creative space. So which, sort of helped them to capture more than 60% of screen space. IMAX CEOs say that it stopped being a cinema format and started becoming a tool for future storytellers. And that is how you future-proof your business. Now remember the PESTEL analysis. The T and the S, social and technology. That was what IMAX did. They realized that the social and the technology was very important if they have to future-proof their business. Currently, IMAX market capitalization is about 1.99 billion US dollars, with over 1,772 screens in over 90 countries around the world. As a business owner, it is your duty to future-proof your business, to understand which of the changes would affect your business in the future. I hope that you enjoyed watching this video. Please comment below. Tell us what you learned. See you.